Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Hi, my name's Cliff Roche, and I'm an alcoholic. And I'm glad to be here. Lynn called me several months ago and said their speaker had canceled. And he said he had tried every good speaker he could find in AA, and they were all busy. So could I come? I said, oh, hell yeah, sure. You take what you can get, you know. No. I didn't, however, know that I was going to have to wear a monkey suit to do it. What the hell's idea was this anyway? Confucius say, little fat guy never look good. Never mind what you put on him. This cummerbund is cutting me in half. Too much cumber, not enough bun. But what the hell, I'm here. A little nervous with these normies right in front here. Listen, don't judge it all by tonight. There's some real sane ones here too. You know how we refer to you. We don't say it the way he said. We always say normies. You know, like tourists. Normies. But you're 9/10 of the world, so you're ahead. But I hope you enjoy yourself. I'm very grateful to be here, and very grateful that my Al-Anon could come with me, my wife Pat, right here. I always love it when she can come so I can introduce her, you know, as my Al-Anon. You know how they introduce us. Have you met my alcoholic? Sit up, boy. Sit up. Sit up. Tell them how long you've been sober. But I love Al-Anon. I love the program. I love the people of Al-Anon. I adore Al-Anon. I certainly adore mine. And it's done her a whale of good. Oh, you should have seen her a number of years ago. You married guys, you remember that? Don't you think you had a few too many? I used to say, no, you had a few too few. That's your problem, lady. Have a couple and loosen up, for God's sake. Oh, and she was a counter. They're the worst kind, you know, pre-Al-Anons. That's your fifth one today. Just shut up and eat your breakfast, will you, for God's sake? Leave me alone. But boy, she's a wonderful member of Al-Anon. Our oldest daughter, Kitty, is a great member of Al-Anon too. And we just call it the program at our house. We don't make a lot of distinctions. And I get myself kind of annoyed at some of these alcoholics that must have done their drinking in the Red Sea caves, you know, because they like to sneer at Al-Anon, make fun of Al-Anon. And I don't think that's funny. I think they're on our side. Now, they do drink funny, right? I don't care for social drinkers anyway. I don't trust them. Normies. Did you ever drink with those weenies? Oh, you know, you take the cap off, you go, they say, I'll get it, I'll get it. What is that about? I just don't trust people like that. But you and I, we drank alike. I took a drink when I was 16 years old, and I crossed the invisible line. I know people that have normal drinking habit, whatever that is, or successful drinking. Remember that? If you could find your car. That was successful. One time I had hung my clothes up. Boy, I said, that was a great night. That was successful drinking. But I'm just one of those that when I took my first drink at the age of 16, I just was alcoholic as soon as I had bought it. Of course, I came by it naturally. I'm from a long line of alcoholics. Irish, you know. Oh, really? Yes. And everybody in my family is an alcoholic. It's supposed to be a recessive gene, not in my family. It's a dominant gene in my family. The other night, I was watching there. Some lady had a disease, genetic type disease, and you get Alzheimer's early and die. And they took her fetus and went into her womb and removed the gene from her fetus that caused that disease. And so now the child is like 4 now and is not going to have the disease. We just heard chapter 3. It says they haven't made a cure yet. It ought to be able to easy to find the alcoholic gene, right? Yeah. Right down at the end of the chromosome, a little blue gene going, whoa! One more! You just got to be able to find it easy. And so, when I started drinking, I was always an alcoholic. I've always been an alcoholic. I was kind of spectacular alcoholic. Did a lot of wild and crazy things. Fighting alcoholic. Which is too bad. Because I was no good at it. But I gave it a go. You know. In my case, the very millisecond that I would get enough booze to be brave, I would lose my muscle coordination. Boy, you can get seriously damaged doing that, I'll tell you. So. But I met my pre-Al-Anon. I met her in college. She was down on Skid Row looking for an alcoholic to abuse her. And if you're looking to be abused, here's your boy right here. You know, we entered this 20-year suicide pact together. And we had that, a lot of you had this too, that dreaded dual disease, alcoholism and Catholicism. Consequently, we had a kid every 9 months and 20 minutes. Worst losers of Vatican roulette the world has ever known. Every time I come out of a blackout. What the hell is that? Man, they're all right when they're little, you know, like kittens. But they grow, you know. And those kids, we had 5 of them finally, and the older they got, the weirder they got. God knows the weirder she got, and I was the head nut. After a few years, I became a school teacher. Guy does felonies and blackouts, becomes a school teacher. You know, just a hobby. And so I became very, very careful about those blackouts. You know, but much of my life is hearsay. Wasn't yours? You know, I spent most of my life saying, I did? oh, God, I'm sorry. You know. Then later it became her say. And she used to say, I'd open my eyes in the morning and she'd say, that was a good one. Just hate that. Just hate it. Still gives me chills to say that. That was a good one. But after I became a school teacher, I became very, careful about those blackouts because they fire you. They take your teaching license away when you commit felonies. And so I was just paranoid about trying to avoid blackouts. I still had them once in a while, but I became more and more and more a daily drinker. And that's a part of my alcoholism I like to remember was, that getting up in the morning and say, I'm not going to drink today. And by 10 o'clock I'd be deciding whether it's going to be a Manhattan or a martini. And I always drank and I always said I wasn't and I always did. I was a functioning alcoholic. Probably 95 to 97% of you in this room are the same as I am. Only 3 to 5% of us die of alcoholism who are on Skid Row. That's what the experts tell us. Whoever the experts are. I think they all live in Fresno. That's my personal. An expert is a guy with a PhD who's still drinking. But the experts say that 95 to 97% of us who die of the disease of alcoholism are people just like me. Functioning alcoholics. Guys who get up every day and go to work and do the job. And do it better than you. I got to do it 10 times better than anybody to prove I'm half as good. If you identify with that, you're in the right place. I'm a goer and a doer and an achiever, a functioning alcoholic. My buddy at home says a functioning alcoholic is one whose wife works. Don't tell that one in an Al-Anon meeting either. But I taught for a few years up in the San Joaquin Valley, a little town called Manteca. I don't have to go to purgatory now. And then in 1961 we moved to Oceanside, where we still live and where I intend to die. And I got a job at old Oceanside High there, and it's not a contradiction. I became a very successful teacher. And became a surfer, too. Oh, I was a surfer dude, I'll tell you for sure. Oh, I loved surfing. And another guy and I in 1965, another teacher and I who was a surfer, we got a surfboard shop down at the beach there in Oceanside, right at the end of the Strand. The mayor of the town had this piece of property he was hanging on to. He gave it to us free. And we fixed the building all up. It had been vandalized and painted it and put windows in and got a refrigerator. 2 months later, we got some surfboards, too. No hurry there. Huh? And we had these two chaise lounge chairs. Can you imagine, for a couple of budding alcoholics? Right on the beach, on the water. And Woody and I became sunset connoisseurs. We used to measure sunsets by martinis. Somebody come down in the evening and say, I'd like to rent a surfboard. Screw off, Charlie. We're watching the sunset now. Best one we ever had was a 15 martini sunset. Oh, it was glorious. You should have seen it. And the sun and Woody and I went right together. And they found us in the morning with sunburned mouths. You remember that? Geez, the normies are laughing. I think that ought to be on the 20 questions. You ever had a sunburned mouth? No? Get the hell out of here. You ain't ready yet, pal. But in February of 1965, I went down to the shop to repair a board. Of course, we were closed. It was freezing cold, and we were back teaching school again. But I went down on this Sunday morning to fix this board, and I had a hangover. Oh, Sunday morning, really? And And I was really thirsty. And I went to the refrigerator to see if there was a Coke or something in there. I was not a morning drinker. I was a weekend drinker, remember? I used to take Wednesday off. You know. Shut up, will you? I'm a weekend drinker. But anyway, I opened the refrigerator, and Woody had been there the night before, and he left about this much vodka in a half-pint bottle. My dad would have called it a lick and a smell. And there was some orange juice in there, and I thought, hey, that'd put the fire out. So I just mixed up this little dinky drink, and I drank it, you know, and went on about it. And I'm standing on the board there. And I tell this because I'm always hoping there's newcomers in the room. Probably are, with $45 a plate, though. My sponsor used to bring me whether I wanted to come. We're going to a roundup. That was, get them up, little doggies, for God's sakes. But if there are any new people here tonight, I tell you this because, you know, after about 15 minutes, that little bit of vodka, that half of a shot, just circulated through my body. That'll do. Whiskey goes. And my mind talked to me. And my mind said, shame on you, Cliff. Shame, 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 shame. That was Woody's booze you drank. Why don't you go up to the liquor store called the phenomena of craving? Get old Woody a pint. That's the kind of guy I am. You know what I mean? I got him a fifth that afternoon. And I ended up, as my dad used to call it, boreal drunk. Just resin all over me. The board was screwed forever. The shop was in it. Crawled home on my hands and knees 11 blocks. Next morning I got up, got through calling Ralph. I said to Pat, remember him? Didn't you hate it when you just got down to just you and Ralph? Oh, I hated that part. I'm going to digress for a second. I was sober 5 years. And we went to the Bakersfield up for the Southern California Convention. We came home, had a wonderful weekend. And I got home that night, went to bed, and I woke up in the middle of the night terribly sick. I'd eaten something that was wrong with me. And into the bathroom I went, and I threw up from 2 in the morning till 6. And just when I was getting down to just Ralph and I had a spiritual awakening. A real one. I realized there, kneeling in front of that commode, that I had not thrown up in 5 years. That's a spiritual awakening. Because I used to puke at least 6 days a week. I thought everybody did. You know what I mean? But anyway, I got through puking that morning, and I told Pat, I got to do something about my drinking. I'm getting drunk when I don't mean to. You know? Usually I mean to. And she had cut this little thing out of the paper about the A&A. Only ad we've ever had says that if you want to drink, that's your business. If you want to quit, call Alcoholics Anonymous. Only ad we've ever had, and the only one we're ever going to need as far as I'm concerned. It says it all, doesn't it? It says it all about us. If you want to drink, that's your business, pal. But if you want to quit, you call Alcoholics Anonymous. And so I did. And there were very few meetings in the Oceanside, Carlsbad area in those days. Little meetings all around one table. All retarded people. You know, after a couple of days, I thought, whoa, I was hasty here. Wait a minute. Oh, come on. These guys' favorite word was simple. This is simple. I went, no kidding. Ding, 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 ding. I don't like simple. I don't know about you. I don't like simple. I don't like simple music. I don't like simple poetry. I sure as hell don't like simple people. And these people seem to have this collective IQ of an orange. You know, I'm highly educated. I have degrees, you know. My late sponsor, Bill, used to say he's been educated far beyond his intelligence. Not funny. But anyway, I didn't drink for 5 months. Almost caught on fire, I got so dry, you know. But then I quit going to AA, you know. And so for the next 5 years, I became a loser. If they ever have a Losers Hall of Fame, I'll have a bust right by the door. Because I was a smirking loser. I was an overeducated loser. I was a smart-ass loser who always pointed out your deficiencies whenever I dropped by. They used to have a little Sunday night meeting there, a little speaker meeting there in Oceanside. It's in Carlsbad now. And they had a little recipe box where they kept everybody's sobriety date on a little card, 3x5 card. I used to come in the back of the room, and old Tim Tierney used to see me, and he'd look, and he'd get the card out and cross out the old date. Write the new date down. Didn't even ask me. You know, he used to piss me off. But then the one time, this is the truth, I came in the back room and he saw me and he took the card out, tore the card up, got a new card. Well, that's embarrassing. In and out of AA, just a loser's loser. And the drinking went right on and got worse and worse and worse. And every time I'd come to AA, they'd tell me that. They'd say, Cliff, if you stay here, you know, your life's going to get different. If you go back out there, it's going to get worse. You know, I'd go back out there and it would get worse. And I'd come back and they'd say, Cliff, if you stay here, you know, and if you go back, and on and on and on it went. Just a loser's loser. But I kept functioning. You know, if you're new here tonight and you thought everybody was a Skid Row wino who came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I want to tell you, the week I came to Alcoholics Anonymous this time, I weighed 163 pounds. I had 4% body fat. I used to surf for like 3 hours and then get out and run 5 miles. I could bench press 285. Took me 25 minutes to pass a mirror. And for God's sakes, don't ask me for directions. I'd say, yeah, it's right over there. If you're new, you can see that AA is maybe twice the man I used to be. What do you mean an alcoholic? I'm in shape. It's all right, my liver's gone, but what the hell, you can't have everything. And I was one of the top 3 debate and speech coaches in the United States the week I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. That's an honor roughly equivalent to being one of the top 3 prostitutes in Elko, Nevada. But among speech coaches, it's a big deal. I became the top speech coach in the country by accident 4 or 5 years before I got to AA this time. The principal had called me in one day, which he was wont to do, and he had gotten this flyer in the mail about a debate and a speech tournament which was being held at San Diego State College, just 30 miles down the road. And I had this speech class. So he said, well, that'd be good for some of your students. You ought to do that. You ought to go down there to that. You know, I was in big trouble, so I said, what a good idea. I didn't know a thing about it. But I found about 6 rum-dums wanted to give it a go. And we got in the old station wagon, went down 30 miles down the road to San Diego State. We got down there, we were absolutely blown away. There were like 50 schools in this tournament, like 500 contestants, boys in 3-piece suits with, not tuxedos, but good suits. And all the girls were in these real classy business suits. And we're in Levi's and sweatshirts. What the hell do we know, you know? And we got slaughtered. We got butchered. We didn't win a round. I mean, they ground us in the dirt's what they did. Not kind of drunk you are, but I don't care for losing. It ticks me off to lose. And I went in the coach's room. There were about 20 of them in there, and they're all buddies. They've been doing this for years. They're pals, you know. And they snubbed me. It seemed to me. So I hung around all day. They can snub you longer that way, you know what it is? One guy there really ticked me off. He had a lot of hair. That pissed me off right away. You know. Oh, gorgeous hair. You know, that steel gray, beautiful, gorgeous hair. 9 barbers to get it right. He had about $1,000 suit on. You know, the other coaches did this when they went in front of him. About 2 in the afternoon, this guy turns to me and says, "Where are you from?" God, I was grateful to be spoken to finally. I said, "Oceanside." And he said, "Oh, where's that?" 30 miles up the road. Where's that? I don't know what kind of drunk you are, but he gave me a resentment. I mean a resentment. And I went back to Oceanside High and I built a speech team. Took me several years, but I built a speech and never forgot that gray-haired guy for a minute. I built a juggernaut speech team is what I did. I built a powerhouse speech team. I did it with sheer hatred. 7 in the morning till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I'm in their faces. I'm coaching, baby. I'm screaming and yelling and screaming. The guy next door said, "I'd love to watch them leaving the room wiping the spit off their glasses." This reporter said to my captain, "What's the secret of your coach's success?" Kid said, "Terror." She wasn't lying. She's the chairman of the speech department at San Francisco State University now and the chancellor of women's studies. Didn't do her any harm. Bruises on your butt, they heal. I always feel so sorry for Bobby Knight. He got fired for strangling one guy. And it was a guy. Boy, do you know how much work that is to do, to make 150 people do what they don't want to do? Have you any idea how hard that is to do? I mean, you gotta stay wound up all day, I'll tell you, baby. And I don't eat all day. It's better that way. Huh? Maybe 400 cups of coffee during the course of the day. And stay pissed off. Now, that's the way I drink. See, I'm a functioning alcoholic. I don't have to touch booze all day. I just have to know it's in the glove compartment of the car when I get through here tonight. Half a pint of hot vodka. Love to talk about hot vodka at Al-Anon meetings. They go, yeah. We talked at an Al-Anon banquet one time, and they had noodles with the meat on top. What's that? Stroganoff. So I talked about puking for a half an hour. Oh, they had a lot of leftovers that day, I'll tell you. They were all like... But you know that half a pint of hot vodka's in the glove compartment. It would just wait for me all day. It knew what I was doing in there. It would call to me. It would say, "Go get him, Cliff, baby. I'm waiting, darling." And then when I would finish with that last kid, I would lurch out to the car and I would open up that hot vodka, and I smoked those big cheap cigars in those days, nickel cigars, light it up, and then I'd take the half pint of that hot vodka. Anything better in the world than hot vodka, just into the bloodstream. And I drink that half of the half pint and puff on that stogie, huh? And I think, God damn, you're a good coach. I should mention the car, by the way. Carl was talking about his car last night. Carl's here to hear me speak tonight. There's no golf during the night. Thank God. He would never hear another speaker. Anyway, he was talking about his car. My car was a 58 Chevy. Without a square inch, it wasn't crushed. One light went up like this, you know. When I was drunk, I painted it with house paint. Boy, I'd come up to a four-way stop sign and everybody'd go, yay, baby, go. But I'd sit in the darkness of the car and I'd have my secret that I never told you when I was in Alcoholics Anonymous. I could not tell you this secret. After I drink, I'm a half an hour or 40 minutes, whatever I'm drinking. You know. Now, I like it all. I never identify with alcoholics and say, I never cared for the taste of alcohol. Always want to say, well, do you care for the taste of these? I mean, I love sour mash and bourbon whiskey the best, but I like all the other. I like scotch. And vodka, I love vodka. Rum, oh. Vanilla extract. I'm not real crazy about vanilla. But if that's what you're drinking, hey, all right, let's go. Put it out here. You have to admit it has bouquet. Like for 3 days. But when I would sit there in the darkness of that car, I would have this phenomenon that I'd had since I was 16 years old. After I drink, I don't know about you, after I drink about half an hour or 40 minutes, something happens to me. I have about 8 minutes where there's nothing wrong. I mean, I'm okay and you ain't so bad either. You know what I mean? The way I'll put it is, I was enough for 8 minutes. Approximately. You know? And I almost died for that 8 minutes. You know, out of a 24-hour period, a poor, miserable wretch like me would have 8 minutes where I was okay. And I couldn't tell the people in AA about that because I didn't think they would understand. And then I would go home and destroy my family. And we had those 5 kids, and I'm not nuts about talking about this part of my story, but there you are. And we had these 5 kids, and I drank every night at home the last 6 or 7 or 8 years. And I'm a violent drunk, and I'm a sarcastic, mean drunk. And I got drunk every night at home. And we were all crazy. Everybody in that family was insane. 3 of my kids were in high school now. We're talking the late 60s. 3 of them are in high school. Oldest son is working his way through high school as a hashish salesman. Never had to give him any spending money, I'll guarantee you. Used to hit him up for a fifth about once a week. Yeah, Dad. Had hair down to his butt, you know, his head went like this all the time. Called his mother man. Hey, man, what's for dinner? Oh, he loved LSD, took it like popcorn, and they're bad, those guys, you know. I'd be right in the middle of a sentence, he'd say, what was that? Of course, the shape I was in, I'd say, I don't know, what was it? Where? And Pat's mother, my drunken mother-in-law lived with us. She would lean on her walker and say, I'll explain that. Pat and I got laughing a while back. We used to listen to the explanation. It was just a zoo. It was a Looney Tune bin is what it was. But I built that speech team. And after a couple of years, my team won one of those tournaments. But I didn't say anything to the gray-haired guy. It wasn't time yet. We know when it's time, don't we, huh? The next year there were 12 or 14 tournaments. My team took first place in every single tournament. Now, I can wait. I think revenge is better than Christmas, don't you? The next year there was a tournament. There were 25 schools competing in the tournament, and my team scored more sweepstakes points than the other 24 schools combined. Then I went up to the gray-haired guy, and I put my nose right against his, and I said, "Do you know where Oceanside is now?" And he just looked blank. He said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Don't you remember about 4 or 5 years ago, you said to me, Oceanside, where's that?" And he said, "We just moved here from Nebraska. I didn't know where it was." There's the story of my life. This guy's in his bed in San Diego for 4 or 5 years. I'm up at Oceanside. I'll get you, you son of a... I wish to God I could tell you that I'm entirely different today. She loves this story. I very rarely tell this. You guys are too much. I got to tell you this story. A couple of years ago, or 3 years ago it was, I had a prostate trim. Just so I could sleep at night. And this butcher screwed it up. No offense to the medical people here. But anyway, I suffered with the same. Finally, I picked up the phone and I called the doctor's office. Little gal came out to the doctor's office. I said, "Listen, that butcher ruined me. I have all this pain." I told her exactly where the pain was and where it went, and how, exact detail. But 10 minutes worth, I wound it up by saying, "Hell, I even pissed the bed. I didn't do that when I was drunk, for Christ's sakes." And she said, "Mr. Roche, this is your eye doctor's office." To my credit, I fell on the floor laughing. And she fell on the floor laughing, and we laughed and we almost got sick. And a couple of weeks later, I went in there and I said, "Where's Marilyn?" She's right over there. I said, "I'm Mr. Roche, Marilyn." She went, "Oh, hi, Mr." And everybody else in the office went, blabbermouth. But it was about that time that Pat and I had one of our main events, which the neighbors have come to miss so much. Our neighbors never got television until after I got sober. Who needed it? You didn't need television. They all had those Venetian blind marks on their forehead. We could do it. And I threatened to move out, which I used to do a lot. Well, maybe I just better move out. They all went, "Yeah! Go for it, Dad." And I moved out, and I'm living down at the beach with my surfboard where I wanted to live anyway. I'd said for years, if I get rid of that witch and those long-haired dope fiend children, I'd be okay. And I'd gotten rid of them, and it wasn't okay. I was drunk all the time. I was missing work, which had always been my standard. I was missing work, and I just felt like my life was slipping between my fingers. And I went by the house one afternoon. I was haranguing Pat about money. And the hashy salesman was kind of bobbing in the background there. Humming a tune from the planet Pluto. And I did something really stupid as I look back on it. I turned to him and I said, "Dave, what's it like not to have your old man around the house?" And he looked me right in the eye and he said, "It's beautiful." And I didn't know it for several hours, but that was my bottom. That's as far as I'm going, folks. I'd lost the respect of a 16-year-old kid. And I realized in the next couple hours sitting down at the beach watching the sunset that I had lost my own self-respect a hell of a long time before that. That I had traded in anything I ever liked about me for the privilege of drinking booze. And about the time that the sun went down into the water, I had what our big book of Alcoholics Anonymous calls the moment of clarity. Polly in Seal Beach calls it the moment of grace, which I like. Grace, the gift. It's all free. But you got to be through. You got to be without any more excuses. And I just gave it up. And I went in the bedroom, dug out the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which I had read in my travels through the program. Being an English teacher, I thought it was very poorly written. I read a lot better this time. And I read, if you're new tonight, I read the big book. I read it cover to cover. I read it for 3 days and 3 nights. I called in sick. I didn't go to work. I slept a little bit, ate even less. And I read it all. I read all the stories. And in the second edition, there was a story called The Professor and the Paradox. And he rang my bell. He was another egotistical school teacher. And he rang my bell. And the third time through the book, on the 13th of January, 1970, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was on page 63 again. And if you're new, page 63 has a little prayer, which is step 3. I always called it the formal terms of surrender. And I knelt down on that filthy linoleum floor on that dump on the beach, and I read that prayer out loud to myself. It just seemed like a good idea at the time. I read, God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as you will. Relieve me of the bondage of self. And I looked up the word bondage when I was new. It means slavery. Before I was 4 years old, I had built a prison. And I don't know why I did that. The psychological reasons aren't important to me. I guess I built the walls to keep you out. And all I ever did was build a prison to keep me in. And I was all alone in there all my life. When I was reasonably new, I heard Peggy in Nebraska said, alcoholism is the only prison where the locks are on the inside. My sponsor explained to me that there are 12 keys to let me out. And he says, because you're a brilliant intellectual, we numbered them for you. What? And when I read that prayer out loud to myself that morning, something happened to me. And that's over 32 years ago. And I've strained for years to try to find some way of telling you what happened to me that morning. And last year in the grapevine, this little girl in Ohio who I met last year, you know, she's like 22 years old and 9 years sober, one of those little pukes. You know? Well, they take drugs too. That hastens it, you know. But anyway, she was in this treatment center and she knelt down as I did and turned it over. And she described it, maybe you read the Grapevine article, she described it as a great laughing love. She said she was enveloped by a great laughing love. That's what it was. That's good enough for me. Because you and I know the laughter is what keeps us here. You and I know that the laughter is a spiritual part of this program. Nothing I laugh at will ever come back and haunt me again. Nothing I laugh at will ever come back and bite me in the butt. Once I laugh, I'm through with it. Oh, I love the laughter. I think that's why we have these things, you know. That's why these guys worked all year so we could get together and laugh for a while. Oh, the laughter of Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon. I like to get me a new guy, you know, take him to a meeting and take him to another meeting and take him to another, maybe the 10th meeting or the 12th meeting one night he goes, gotcha! And we take these brand new little Al-Anons, we take them to AA speaker meetings. You know, the guy's up here and he says, and I fell in the Christmas tree and smashed all the presents. Yeah, we all go, ah! This new little Al-Anon sitting there. Not funny to her. So we take her to another meeting tomorrow night. You know. And one night she throws her head back and laughs. I don't care, AA or Al-Anon, once we get you laughing, we got you. Because that's the magic of Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon. And that night I knew what I had to do. I went to work that day. And that night I was over at Bill Blake's house. That's my sponsor, my late sponsor. He's been dead now about 12 years. My present sponsor is John A. from Laguna. Very loving man. My first sponsor was a mean little whelp. But I knew I had to go to his house. You know, he'd try to help me every time I'd come to AA. And I knocked on the door. Now, I'm a 5-year loser, okay? I'm in and out of AA smirking. You know the smirkers? Do you ever go see the guys in the paper slippers that smirk at you? Good night, I'm going home now. But when I was here, you know, and I was just a loser. And Margie, Bill's wife, opened the door. Margie just died a few months ago. First copy of the big book I ever saw. She saw me, this loser, on the porch. And she like lit up. You know, it's like she just went, "Oh, Cliff! Oh, Cliff, come in!" In the house I go. Pours me a cup of coffee. She says, "Oh, this is great." She says, "Oh, God, this is wonderful." She said, "Bill's been nuts lately. He's had nobody to work with. Oh, this is so great." You know, then Bill comes in. "Ah! Cliff!" About a half an hour, I'm thinking, anything else I can do to help you folks out? Glad to help any way I can. Cliff's here. We can start AA now. But about 3 weeks later, I was in a newcomer meeting, and one of the other newcomers said, "What do you mean this is a selfish program?" And when the guy asked the question, I knew the answer. I found it the night I got here. They couldn't have fooled me. I was too sick. They were glad for me. They'd been praying for me for 5 years. But they were more glad for Bill and Margie. Because Bill and Margie knew the great secret. You can't have it unless you give it away. You can't keep it unless you give it away. And my little sponsor believed that to the bottom of his heart. He believed that everybody who comes to AA has alcoholism and we can take care of that. He also believed we also have our own form of insanity, you know. But we have 12 steps. He said we have a wrench that'll fit every nut. Yeah. But he believed also that everybody who comes to AA and Al-Anon has a gift of some kind that they have, that they do better than other people. And he believed that if you didn't bring your gifts, you had to go back out there and die. And I believe that too. And so he taught me that whatever I have to bring here and put it to use. And that's the guys I teach and that I sponsor that way too. And by the way, that was the last nice thing the man ever said to me. Well, I thought the first step was, "Shut up and get the car!" You know. Now, after 32 years, I realize the first step is, shut up and get the car. We don't care what you think. If we want anything out of you, we'll point. Get and ride the hump in the back, too. That's where you belong. In the middle, in the back. Boy, that'll get you 12-stepping. Get you a newcomer. You go in the middle now. I'm on the window. The nicest thing the man said to me the first 5 years was, "Shut up. We don't care what you have to say." I told him, "I have degrees, you know." He says, "So does a thermometer. You know where they stick that sometimes." And if you're anything like me, I hope and pray to God you find a sponsor as I did. I mean, nobody ever loved me more than that man did. He took me to a meeting every night for 2 years. Every night. I thought everybody did that. Shut up and get in the car. And we went to his sponsor was Clancy. We'd go up there twice a week, Tuesdays and Saturdays. And we'd go all over Southern. He took me to the meetings where people were laughing. Because he knew me. He knew I couldn't make it without it. And he took me through the steps until he was satisfied. He was kind of a simple guy. He was a brilliant man, but when it came to the program, he was a simple man. He was a Skid Row wino who lived under the steps of the Seaside Hotel and came out and got this book and stayed sober the rest of his life and carried the message to hundreds and hundreds of men. When he died, we had a meeting for him, and there were more people than are in this room tonight came to that meeting. And he was no speaker. He was the worst speaker in the history of AA. Oh, he used to say, I've talked everywhere in AA once. But you put him in the front seat of a car with a newcomer. He was magic. That was his gift. He 12-stepped more people successfully than anybody I've ever heard of. He was magnificent. That was his gift that he brought. And when we had the meeting, I led the meeting, and I said, how many of you here loved Bill? Every hand in the room shot up, you know. I said, how many of you here had a resentment against Bill? Every hand. He never had a resentment. He was a carrier. She adored him. He'd get going on me. She'd be standing there. He got her into Al-Anon. He went over and said to her, I checked out the Al-Anon meetings in this town, Pat, and I think they could use your help. The Al-Anon 4-letter word, help. And all my life I've known what's been the matter with me. I've always known it. I suppose you've known what's the matter with you too. And I'm not kidding about this either. All my life I knew what my problem was. My problem has always been I was not loved enough. Came from this alcoholic family, and lots of people tried to love me, but I didn't notice. God knows my wife and my children, and a lot of my students did. But see, what I never knew about me that my sponsor knew, now he never told me. He never told me what my real problem was because he knew I was too stupid or too brilliant to understand what's the difference. You're just as dead. You know. He knew my problem had always been not that I was not loved enough, but that I did not love enough. I did not know how to love. I did not know how to start to learn how to love. So he did what every intelligent sponsor I've known done. He made me take loving actions against my better judgment. He made me stand at the door and greet people, which I hated. Because I'm a snob. You know, hi, what's your name? Like I really give a... It took me on all these 12-step calls. We used to have wall talkers, you old timers. Remember, the guys used to sit in the back of the room, had, drank 3 weeks too long. They would talk to the wall. Hey, as soon as the meeting was over, he'd say, go talk to the wall talker. I'd go back there and say, how are you tonight? Yeah, good. And there was this big blowhard Al who he made me take to a meeting every night. I had all these problems. He'd make me drive Al to the meeting because Al had no driver's license. And he was a big jerk blowhard. And I'd drive Al to the meeting. We'd do the meeting. We'd set the meeting up. People would come and everybody go home. We'd set the meeting down, wash the coffee pots. I'd drive the blowhard home again. And I'd feel good. I'm wondering, what the hell happened? I thought it's because I got rid of Al. You know what's another word for a loving action? The word is service. Mother Teresa was in our area a number of years ago before she died, and she had a heart attack, and a couple of the AA doctors, cardiologists, took care of her, and they said she was every much as spiritual young as they'd always thought she was. But this reporter asked her something, and she said, and it was in the paper, and I cut it out and carried it till it fell apart. She said, the fruit of faith is love. And the fruit of love is service. And the fruit of service is peace. I will comprehend the word serenity, and I will know peace. The fruit of service is peace. And I love to watch the winners in this program. People, this table is full of, they worked all year so you could have some laughs this weekend. You know, all year they spent getting this thing together. And you know the other winners, the ones with the smiles on their faces. And the sad thing is the losers think they're getting away with something. No, they're not doing any service. They, boy, did I escape there. Oh, yeah. You know. The fruit, the promises are so clear. I never even saw the promises till I was sober 2 years. One night at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm reading it and I saw them. I really, I'm going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. I will comprehend the word serenity and I will know peace. I will lose my fear of people and of economic insecurity. Not economic insecurity, just fear of it. And then at the end it says, are these extravagant promises? I started laughing. Oh no. For a wild, nut, angry human being like me, are those extravagant promises? They're ridiculous. People like me can't feel like that. And I'm laughing. She gets out of bed and says, what the heck are you laughing? But if you're new, read the promises. When you go bottom of 83, top of 84. Right in the middle, old Sneaky Bill Wilson does it. In the middle he puts how you achieve it. How do you achieve the promises? In the middle it says, no matter how far down the scale we see, my experience can benefit others. Then my favorite line in the whole book. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Bill was a grammarian. He knew what he was writing. You're supposed to write that. These feelings of uselessness and self-pity. No. He said, that feeling of uselessness and self-pity. All the same feeling. The winners know that and the losers do too, don't they? That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We'll lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. I'm still waiting for that. And then it says our whole outlook on life will change. So if you're new, service is the answer. If you're new tonight, all the stuff I talked about. Oh, I better briefly mention our family. This month I'm going to go up and talk a little roundup in Hood River in Oregon. And I'm going to give the hashish salesman his 1-year cake. He's the vice president of an international company. He's a functioning alcoholic. Our youngest son has 13 years in AA and is a marvelous man. He's a great father and a wonderful husband and God knows a loving son. And our middle daughter, Jan, had 12 years of sobriety and got a bad back and started taking pills and drank again. But now she's back and has almost 2 years again. And she's just doing fantastic. Cured her back with yoga. And our youngest daughter, what the hell's the matter with her? She grew up straight in a crooked family. She's just fine. She comes to everybody's cake. Happy birthday. I'll see you later. And our eldest daughter, she really went wrong. She's been in Al-Anon about 17 years now. We got together last Christmas, and the laughter and the fun and the love in that house, you can't get here from there. You can't get here from there. I'll put my family against any family in the history of the world. They're all highly educated. They're all good people. They're all great citizens. They're all loving people. I'm going to start crying talking about this. They gave me this book for Christmas. They worked on all year. It was divided in segments like what I admire most about you, Dad, and why I love you and the traditions you've passed. You know, all those pictures, it's about this thick. I'd take salt tablets. I cried so much reading it. You know, my kids don't even have to speak to me. But the program, primarily the Al-Anon program, has taught them about forgiveness and about love and about looking for the positive. And my children adore me today. They've always adored her, and well, they should. But my kids are so close to me today, it's unbelievable. So as I say, no human power could have relieved my family. But God could and did, because we sought Him. He doesn't care if you find Him, as long as you're seeking. And as I said, if you're new, you don't have to believe any of this that I've talked about, all these wonderful things that have come to me in my life. You don't have to believe it's going to happen to you. I didn't believe it. I believed it happened to Bill, you know. And then later on I saw that it could happen to me. But you do have to believe this. You do have to believe that it happened to us. That a sick, neurotic, crazy, angry man lives almost every day of his life happy and joyous and free, just like that book promised me. And that's how I live. And I hope you do too.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button. swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.